Hey y'all, I just wanted to do a short video today explaining how to use the digital tuning forks through Zoom. And I want to thank you so much for your purchase of the digital tuning forks. I made these because I trained in Soma Energetics uh, energy vitality technique where we would use the tuning forks in person to balance the person's chakras or energy centers, whatever you want to call them. And I then got into taking the training for hypnosis. And I thought, well, shoot, this would work great to bring into a session because under hypnosis, we're calling in healing light, whatever color that we need to do the healing, and and also we do a chakra balance and reseal. And so it's perfect that the client actually has the sound in their ears and they can feel that frequency, which makes the visualization even more powerful and the healing so much more powerful too by being able to hear that in a session. And the only way when I started into this, and we use these noise canceling microphones, and the only way that I could do it was actually make a recording of the tuning fork and play it through the computer. And we use the noise canceling microphone because it makes a better experience for the client. They don't have all kinds of background outside noise or echo. And so it's just our voice in the computer. But that presents a problem when you go to strike a tuning fork with it, like so. It cuts in and out, doesn't work very well. So I figured out that I could play recordings of the tuning forks through Zoom. Um, so I did that by recording it myself here in my office, trying to play the tuning forks and record them, which was so incredibly hard because it would pick up every background noise I had, and it just wouldn't work. It wasn't a really good sound. I used them, it wasn't a good sound. So I finally booked a recording studio, someplace where we could just eliminate all background noise, and I went in and recorded the tuning forks, how I want them played or how we use them in the session, and it worked out superb. They sound beautiful. It's the full sound, and so they're even more powerful on a healing session. And I use them like I said when the client will call out a color to that color light that we can bring in for healing. I'll strike a tuning fork and they'll envision that color frequency going in there and healing. And then also again on the chakra balance and reseal. I think there is so many ways that we could use these digital tuning forks in the online space and help so many people at the same time. Doing a chakra meditation, for example, um, and it really any kind of healing modality where you're doing it in the online space and you want to bring sound and vibration into that healing practice to make it more powerful. The tuning forks work excellent for that. So I want to show you how to do the setup on Zoom here. And I most of it I won't be able to screen share so you can see it. So in Zoom, and I pay for the Zoom subscription, so it might be different from the free version, but I don't think that it is. Um, Down at the bottom, you have screen share. So click screen share, and that window comes up in Zoom. And you'll have the different boxes that have the different screens and stuff that you want to share. But at the top, you'll have a little tab. It's basic, advanced, and then the other tab is files. Select the advanced file. Select that advanced file, and that brings up the selection under the advanced. like mine has PowerPoint as a virtual background, share a portion of the screen, um, and then share computer audio, and that's what we want. So click on the computer audio to share the computer audio. Click on that, click share, and it's up and going. And now my computer sounds that come through the computer will play. Now, one thing you got to make sure is that you don't, while you're doing a session, that you don't have any of your other alerts sounding when you're doing a session, because those sounds will play through as well. So you want to make sure that you shut off all your alerts coming in through the computer that you're using to do a session. You don't want your alert for Instagram or Facebook coming through while you're doing a session. It wouldn't be cool. So once you have that screen share set up, I then have the files, and I think I can share this possibly. I have the files of the tuning forks, and I have it minimized so it's small enough that it's off to the side, and I can work through it, and I can see it. Now you guys can't see that here, but let me I'll stop my sound share, and I'll go back here to the screen share, and then you will be able to see like how I have that minimized. We'll share that so we can get rid of that. But right here, right there, I have that. It's how I have it set it up. I have the file set up and it's minimized so it's out of the way. And then I also have the player that I use. Um, the audio, I think mine's media player or something like that. But I also have that shrunk down and minimized so it's out of the way, and I can stop and pause it if I need to for some reason. So I'll stop the share on the file for the tuning forks, and I'll go here and I'll share the file for the Windows Media Player so you get the idea what I'm talking about. And so you can see that there. I just have that really small, minimized. That way, if I have to pause or stop it, I can do that. So I have those two things set up on the computer during a session, to my right and left. And depending on, what you want for a view of the client too, you can move those little windows of screens of the files of the tuning forks and the media player around. So you make sure that you're not obstructing your view for the client if you're doing that. If you're just doing a guided meditation using these tuning forks, it don't really matter much how you have that set up. So then let's go back in here, select screen share. At the top, you got basic, advanced, and files. Select the advanced tab, select computer audio, and then share. And with those files, the file of the tuning forks and the media file too, bear in mind that whenever you do or click anything in the Zoom, those files go back to the background. So you have to click them forward every time you do something in Zoom. So like say if I stopped and paused the recording or muted myself, if I muted myself or shut my video down, I'd have to bring those files back up so I can see them on my computer. And you can play with this in Zoom to see how you like it and how it works. So I'm bringing up there. I selected the computer share to share the computer sounds. So now I can run through these tuning forks as I need. So we'll take my sessions for example, because that's really mostly what I know is we removed an entity or a blockage off of somebody. And when we remove something, we want to bring in healing colored light. And so what we do is we have the client call out what color they'd like. So that's why I have the um, top 7 tuning forks. They're just a single strike tuning fork. It's just a mallet against the tuning fork. So it's just a single strike. And those are the tuning forks I use to bring in the color healing. So say we removed entity, someone wants to bring in the color yellow for healing light. And I will, you want to give them a warning before you strike the tuning fork, especially if it's under hypnosis or any kind of meditative thing. So I'll say something like, they call out yellow. I'm going to say, I'm going to strike the tuning fork for the color yellow. I want you to take and place that frequency there where that space is, where that is, use your imagination. But you want to kind of give them a warning so you're not shocking them awake or whatever, if with the tuning forks. Oh, and one thing that I'd like to mention too is when I do a sound check with the client before I go into a session, if you're working face to face through Zoom, if you're just doing a recording, you'll know how that sounds. But I do a sound check and play the tuning fork to make sure that it is not way too loud, because we can adjust the volume a little bit for them, or they can do it on their side on their headset as well. So you want to do a check to make sure it's not too loud. So client calls for the color yellow to bring in healing. So I say, I'm going to strike the tuning fork for the color yellow. I'd like you to place that frequency there and watch that frequency swirl out, healing as it goes. Use your imagination. So then I strike the tuning fork. Sometimes I'll talk during the process, um, having them envision anything else that needs to be done with this color, like saying, watch all that negative energy just drop away and all that colorful light flow back into this area. You can use your imagination. I think probably the biggest thing is, give them kind of a heads up and a warning that you're going to strike a tuning fork. So that then that goes to the next one. And the crystal tuning fork that I have on here for y'all is, it's a high frequency. I consider that frequency, that crystal tuning fork, the color of white, pure white light, because it's so high. And when someone's calling in for pure white light, I use crystal. If I need to bring in or strike a tuning fork to clear the online space, I'll use that crystal tuning fork, and it works great. And I have that at the top just to signify that is the highest frequency we have on these tuning forks. The next one down from crystal, I have it labeled as number 1, and I put the numbers on there so I could keep the file names in order, so I have them all lined up the way they're supposed to be. So I have the pink crown, and like I explained before, that pink crown is the combination of all 6 tuning forks together. It's the very top, it's the crown chakra, and I envision that color as to be pink, multicolored, rainbow, whatever. If anybody calls for rainbow colors, I'd use that pink crown. If if they call for multicolor, I would use the pink crown to bring in for healing. So, and that's that. And so that's why those first 7 tuning forks are pretty much, or they have the color before them, because that's what I use them for, is when we're bringing in colored light. The next tuning forks, 8 through 14, it goes your crown through your chakras. I have them labeled as the energy center or the chakra. And the reason I do that is because in our hypnosis sessions, when we are doing a chakra balance and rebuild on a client, I strike these tuning forks. Now, these tuning forks they're double strikes. So with the root and in the energy vitality technique that we did in person, when we're bringing the, let me get the red one here. Hold on. All right, I'm back. So when we're bringing the energy up the body, we're bringing it up from the root. We're bringing it up from the earth. So we strike the two tuning forks together as we're bringing them up. So the base, the root, I struck them. I struck the root together with the ohm tuning fork, the weighted one. It's more of a vibration of a hum, and it is the resonance of the earth. So when I struck those two together, that signified the root chakra when we are doing the root chakra. It's a very nice sound. And when we're bringing it up the body from the earth, we're anchoring into the root from the earth. And so that's why I selected and strike this root chakra against the ohm chakra or the ohm tuning fork and bringing up the body. So when we're bringing that up the body and we're doing a chakra rebuild or maybe even a guided meditation, we're bringing it up from the root. So each one of these tuning forks, the 8 through 14, is struck together with the root tuning fork. So we're bringing it up from the root and we're striking it together with the root tuning fork until we get to the top, to the crown. Now, then the crown tuning forks is the combination of all those double strikes with the root tuning fork. So we're bringing it up through the root. We strike the root, and it has a really it's a very grounding sound when it's struck together with that ohm tuning fork. So we're grounded it into the root. And I just let it play out as you're continuing. And then, then we go into the next and just keep going all the way up to the crown. And then if you're bringing the energy out the crown, connection to source, back to source, and then back down the body, then I would come down with the tuning forks. I would strike the crown and just go all the way back down to the root. That's how I would do that. And it works really well. So, and then let's strike the crown tuning fork. I think it's an incredible sound with all those double strikes together. It's pretty powerful. Very nice. I just pause that. So it's really simple to use. It takes a little bit of orchestration and playing with it, but it can be done. It can be done very easy. And I like how powerful bringing the tuning forks into a session is because, we're visualizing that color. What makes us visualizing that color even better is feeling the vibration, hearing it. It makes it even more powerful. I think it's a lot stronger to do that. Um, One of the things too is when I'm doing instead of warning people every time I strike the tuning fork in when I'm doing a whole chakra rebuild, because we're going through all of them, I will say up front before I start the rebuild, before I start the rebalance of the chakras, I'll say up front, this is what I have written. You could twist it, change it every way you want. I just want to warn the client that I am going to be striking tuning forks for every energy center, just so they know that, just so they're prepared and aware of it. And what I say when I do that is, I will be striking the tuning fork for each of the energy centers. I would like you to visualize and place that color frequency in each of the energy centers, visualizing it spinning, balancing, and becoming brighter as we do this work. And I have that written down for myself. If you could tweak it however you want, but it's a good idea when you're going to be striking a bunch of tuning forks when you're doing that energy work. You want to give them a warning up front that that's what you're doing. You don't want to just start chiming in with tuning forks just so they know what's going on. So it's really simple. I mean, this is a kind of a short video. It's really simple kind of to use, and all you need is just a little bit of practice and setting it up and playing it. But the biggest thing is make sure you do the sound check and in the beginning of the session to make sure that it's actually playing through the computer. If you do that sound check with the client, then and have them feel and hear the tuning fork that you want them to hear, then you'll know if that they're able to hear that tuning fork through the session. But if you go into a session and you forgot to set up the screen share on the computer audio and you're going through and striking tuning forks, they're not going to hear anything because you didn't or you weren't sharing the screen. So that's all I got. I mean, it's really simple. Make sure I did hit everything. I had some notes written down here, but I think I got everything with it. If you have any questions of how to use the tuning forks in a session over Zoom, Zoom's my platform. That's what I use. That's the only platform that does video conferencing that I use. So that's the only one that I know how to play the audio through. So if you're using another system for conferencing, I'm not quite sure how they play the sounds through the computer in a share. I don't know how that works, but if you have any questions on how to use these through Zoom, message me. Let me know, and I can help you out. So again, thank you so much for purchasing those digital tuning forks. It's much appreciated. I love you all, and I hope to see you soon. Have a good one.